when you don't walk the line that they set out for you to walk, we've got a real problem in this country. We better wake up and we better make some changes and put some people in office who have the courage and the backbone to stand on those limited principles of our Constitution and govern in accord with that.
MedinaforTexas.com. We're going to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about why they're scared. We need a governor to lead a states' rights resistance under the 10th and 9th Amendment and say no to the carbon tax. We're going to talk about your game plan if the people bust their hind end and get you in as our governor. Debra Medina is our guest in studio. I'm Alex Jones. This is Alex Jones. Have you heard of the Millionaire Patriot? Well, you should. He has a free handgun and 5 days of firearms training waiting for you. That's right. You can attend 5 days of world-class gun training at Front Sight Firearms Training Institute and secure a 30-state concealed weapons permit, all for pennies on the dollar. Plus, if you act fast, the Millionaire Patriot will give you a free Springfield Armory XD pistol in the caliber of your choice. I believe now is the time that you and your family need to be armed and trained to levels that exceed law enforcement and military standards. Front Sight provides such training without any boot camp mentality or drill instructor attitudes. This is real. Don't miss out. Secure a Front Sight defensive handgun course, plus a 30-state concealed weapons permit for pennies on the dollar, and get your free handgun. Go to frontsight.com today. That's FRONTSIGHT.com. Go to frontsight.com for your training and free gun.
But now I might be mistaken.
Debra Medina is our guest. Short segment right now. Coming back with a long segment. We'll take your calls at 1-800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Debra Medina for Texas. MedinaforTexas.com for governor. Okay, you talk about Texas manufacturers. The whole country's being deindustrialized. We're going to end up like Detroit. I just sent 2 camera guys for 4 days up to Detroit. They said it's worse than what the news is saying. Time magazine had the cover, The Fall of Detroit. It's the whole state. Whole blocks in nice areas collapsing, vines growing up, crime everywhere, government taxes only being raised. Texas and the rest of the country, California's already a failed state. People better be scared. And if we can get a real governor in there to implement the 10th and 9th Amendment and say, we're not implementing your global UN carbon tax to foreign banks, we could save this state and set the example to turn the tide. California's been used as the beta test for big government globalism. Texas should be and has the people to be the leaders to reignite the flame of liberty on the long march to our destiny of freedom. Debra Medina, as governor, what are you going to do to stop the globalist agenda?
You're going to nullify all federal law that overreaches the authority of the U.S. Constitution. You know, Thomas Jefferson told the folks that were afraid of the federal government getting into our business. States don't need to worry about that because it is the unquestionable right of the state to determine when the federal government steps outside of the Constitution and to nullify any law. Texas hasn't lifted a finger to nullify anything under Perry's leadership. We have got to start nullifying. I'm traveling around Texas saying, can you imagine what it would be like if we nullified intervention into agriculture and we told farmers and ranchers in Texas, you want to plant it, you want to grow it, you want to sell it, get out there and get after it. What if we told our energy sector, you want to produce, get out there and get after it. We'll keep the federal government off your back. We need the Texas legislature nullifying law, and we need the Texas governor as the head of the executive branch of this great state interposing against federal law enforcement where it oversteps the bounds of the Constitution. Interposition, nullification, the 2 tools available to the state. Long before we talk about secession, we ought to be aggressively using nullification, interposition. We haven't even lifted a finger.
And by the way, Perry says he's against NAFTA and GATT and against the Trans-Texas Corridor when he's the guy always pushing it. He literally goes up there, puts on this act. I've been in the same restaurant with Perry when he's meeting with people. It's all intellectual talk. He's all very graceful. But then when he goes out, he's like, I'm a cowboy. We're going to secede. Woohoo. Then the New York Times says, what do you mean? He goes, oh, that's just a joke. See, instead of having real states' rights and the states asserting its sovereignty, not seceding, instead he bypasses that and goes, we're going to secede, and puts on a fake, good old boy accent. I mean, it's fake as a $3 bill. He's
a very good campaigner. People need to remember that. he's smooth and he's suave and he says what he needs to say to get elected. I think people are waking up. I think people all across the state are waking up. The 9/12 groups, the Tea Party groups, are some indication that that's happening. But it started first in that Ron Paul presidential campaign, didn't it?
Now, if the controlled globalist liberal arm of the media, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, they want Kay Bailey Hutchinson because she's the Bilderberg. She's the Bilderberg steering committee for the U.S.
Okay.
I mean, she runs it. Notice how they'll attack him all day for his death panel, his executions, and maybe doing a bad job with that. Who knows? Because the feds want to come in here and take control. But notice they won't put you on TV, or they should. You would totally destroy Perry. But no, they only want to destroy him enough to get Kay Bailey in. Kay Bailey's the real danger.
I think there's not much difference between the two. They both have allegiance to
But I'm saying the establishment wants her.
Okay.
I mean, I know you're smart and understand this. I'm just saying, if you watch the news, they don't want Rick Perry. I mean, he's bad. But, I mean, she is definitely the heir apparent.
They are both aligned, though, with the same
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And neither one of them have the best interest of average Texans. Neither one of them have a backbone to support the U.S. Constitution. Neither one of them will advocate for the Texas Constitution. If we're going to be free, and I've been active in politics for a long time, I frequently say, would we know a policy that restored freedom versus one that destroyed it? If it stood up and slapped us in the face, would we recognize the difference? Those nations, historically, that have been the most free and the most prosperous have had in common private property ownership and gun ownership. If we're going to restore freedom in Texas, we better get back to owning our property and keeping uninfringed our right to keep and bear.
I agree. And the First Amendment. We'll be right back and talk about that.
Direct to you. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Your calls are coming up for Debra Medina at 1-800-259-9231. MedinaforTexas.com is the website. Don't forget, my new film, Fall of the Republic, is out on DVD. Be part of the Second American Revolution. The answer to 1984 is 1776. Get the DVD at INFOWARS.com. Make copies of it and give it to everyone you know so they'll understand the globalist master plan from their own words, their own statements. Or call toll-free to get Fall of the Republic, 888-253-3139. You can also download it or watch it in super high quality at prisonplanet.tv. Now, Deborah, I want to go through a list of issues, but you brought up the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is under attack federally. California is passing laws, Illinois, all these other states that then affect manufacturers nationwide. Montana has passed a law and telling the feds we're going to manufacture firearms within the state, which is fully under the 9th and 10th Amendment. Give us your stand, your view of the Second Amendment and what you would do as governor to defend it.
The founders said not only best you own arms, you better know how to use them as well as any government army. Not only do we need to own guns, we need to be very skilled in their use. We need to restore that. You're not going to see U.S. military or other law enforcement rolling through hurricane-ravaged parts of Texas taking guns from law-abiding citizens like you saw in New Orleans in Texas with Medina as governor. You're not going to see the federal government coming in to Texas deploying the U.S. military in Texas. We're going to recognize that sheriffs are the constitutional law enforcement office in this state. We're going to put them back in charge of law enforcement in their county and hold them accountable for that.
Amen to that. Instead, we see the feds funding cities to take over the sheriff's department. That's backwards. The county is empowered by the legislature. It's over the city, but instead it's completely backwards.
That's right. We have got to get back to a constitutional understanding, a constitutional republic. You were talking earlier about this notion that a principal role of government is justice, laws that apply equally to all of us. It doesn't matter what your race, your sex, your economic class, your business affiliation is. You live in the United States of America. You live in the great state of Texas. We have a set of laws. This is the republic, and they apply to all of us equally and the same.
Absolutely. In New Orleans and even into Mississippi, they went into high and dry, even wealthy areas, and went in and said, you're not allowed to own guns. We're taking them, and didn't even give them back. and the police chief says all the firearms will be taken, and they use the military to do that, the governor could have said no to that.
That's right. Did we not have a bill out of this Texas legislative session that said we're going to criminalize your behavior if you fail to evacuate your own private property when we tell you to evacuate? Not in Texas.
And now they want to make you wear a bracelet when you leave with an RFID transmitter. Let's move on to the next subject. Well, let me bring this up. Would you look at implementing the Montana?
Absolutely.
So you would call for basically total open concealed carry, open carry, concealed carry. Open's already the law. Would you call for manufacturing firearms in Texas?
Yes.
Very exciting.
I would call for not licensing firearms ownership. You know, you may
so Vermont style.
I'm not that familiar with the Vermont rules.
Well, it's just Second Amendment.
If you say you and you cannot carry, you do not say to the other 98% of the population you have to have permission to carry.